Hey garden friends, welcome to AJ's Green Thumb. So the weather has finally started to get brisk on us. Believe it or not, yesterday was in the low 70s in the DC area. So today we're topping, I don't know, 45, 40 degrees in some areas. So usually around this time of year, late fall, everyone's rushing to get a lot of garden jobs done. In this case, bulbs. Everybody's planting bulbs right now. So you're gonna see a lot of bulb videos on YouTube around this time. The last one I did was on tulips. It was a collaboration between the enthusiastic gardener, Jeanette, and RB, the garden nanny, Renee. Two wonderful YouTubers. So I am keeping up the pace and planting more bulbs. So this area behind me, I've showcased this garden several videos this past season. And anytime I look out the window, this is the first garden I see. And I think, you know, early spring, early to mid-spring, you know, when the landscape is nothing but twigs and dead leaves and possibly snow, I want to see some color. So I'm going to go ahead and put some daffodils. I have a mix, actually, that I picked up the other day. So this mix I picked up the other day from Lowe's. It's Color Fusions, all right? And this mix here is Daffodil, and I'm gonna try to pronounce this other name. It's Daffodil and Chionodaxa. Chionodaxa, all right? Beautiful starlight blue flowers. And open this up. Yeah, so it's a little mix, really pleasing mix. Yellow daffodils and these blue little flowers on the Chionodaxa. Oh my goodness. Chionodaxa. Chionodaxa. All right. So we all know what a daffodil bulb looks like. It has a papery brown or tan outer layer, kind of like an onion. All right, and it has a pointy tip, and when you plant it, you always want the pointy tip to stick upwards. You plant your bulbs 3 times the depth as the height of each bulb. So this is roughly 2 inches, so then I'll put this down about 6 inches deep. All right, these Chionodaxa bulbs are very tiny little bulbs in comparison to a daffodil bulb. All right, so these, once I plant these, I'll cover them up, and towards the top layer I'll just lay these down and then cover them up. So I bought 2 packs. You get 30 plants each. All right. Then I got these. These are called, oh boy, Pushkinia. Pushkinia. I don't know, these might be Russian or something. So these Pushkinia, as you can see from the picture, beautiful white little flowers, and they're fragrant. I planted some of these last year, and I put those in, and I put them in 2 companion urns. It was a fail because I left the urns out all season and I didn't cover them. So they basically rotted. So this year I plan on, once I remove the mulch, let me show you guys. So learning from past lessons of planting bulbs in my landscape, what I'm gonna do is get some, it's a soil conditioner. It's a clay breaker, okay, type of soil conditioner. I'll bring it out shortly. That mulch is on there pretty thick. So once I remove this top layer of 2+ inches mulch, all right, I'm gonna pull back the mulch and I'm gonna designate about a 4-foot area right here. Dig in some of that soil conditioner, plant my bulbs, and then cover it back up with this mulch. All right. As you can tell, it's a pretty compacted area. All right, so let's get started. So here's the amendment I'm talking about. It's from Harvest Organics, all right? I use a lot of Harvest organic products. This clay breaker is also, is basically a soil conditioner, and it has gypsum in it. And gypsum is known as, it's a clay breaking mineral, and it does a really good job of amending your soil. All right, guys, I'm gonna cheat a little bit and use some potting mix. Don't tell anybody, okay? The good thing about potting mix is that it has awesome drainage. Potting mix has awesome drainage qualities, and I just want to take advantage of that. So I'll go ahead and fork a little bit of that in there, mix that in. Yeah, I'm beat. Hey guys, one thing that's pretty obvious is I've got a tree right here and I've got a tree right behind me. Most who follow my channel know that I battle with tree roots in any garden bed that I plant or go ahead and define. All right, I'm always dealing with tree roots. So oftentimes I do find myself supplementing the top layer with either topsoil, compost, not too much, but I do supplement a lot of my plantings and my beds with organic matter, because digging down deep is out of the question, especially with all of these roots. Oh, check out this daffodil. The great thing to know about daffodils is that they naturalize. All right, so they start to multiply. Actually, tulips do as well, but daffodils are a lot more resilient in a lot of landscapes. They're a lot more reliable. So when you see, and even when you, let me tell you something. So even when you have daffodils in the yard or in the landscape for a number of years, it's good to always go in and dig them up and divide them. Because when you start seeing less blooming performance in your daffodils, most likely it's time to get in there and divide them. They're too crowded. So very simple, very simply, you just separate them just like that. Okay, so from one, I now have three. All right, so the daffodils, I more or less want to have them closer to the back. I want to have my daffodils towards the back because these get a little taller. These may be Dutch Masters. All right, so these get to be about 15 inches tall. And you space them about 3 to 5 inches apart. Me, I like to put them a little closer for a better impact. So these bulbs are very tiny, guys. These Chionodaxa bulbs are extremely tiny. These have got to be about half inch tall. So these will be covered up with barely 2 inches of soil. So what I'll do is I'll put these aside, like I explained earlier, and bury all my daffodils. So we put these over here. All right, guys, so before I got distracted earlier, talking about soil conditioner and gypsum and all of that, these are pushkinias. And I told you guys that it was pretty much a fail last year because I had planted them in some urns, some companion urns, and I left the urns out and they got waterlogged and everything basically rotted. So you may be asking, so how am I going to avoid these getting rotted this year? That's the reason why I put this free draining mix that's gypsum based in this soil. And this bed, the edge of this bed is kind of at an incline, so it should facilitate drainage. I also have a few crocus left over, so I'll also put these after I bury the daffodils. This is just a basic mix that the big box stores sell. So I also bought a trumpet mix, a daffodil trumpet mix. I'll go ahead and throw those in as well. As you can tell, the blooms have a little more variation. There's some pale whites, some pastels, some pinks and some orange, and some tangerine trumpets. So your daffodil flowers, okay, consist of your petals and then your trumpet, which is in the middle. Now, some of these bulbs, I don't mind them actually being close together because it imitates more of a natural aesthetic, right? You don't want everything to be equally spaced apart or lined up like little soldiers. I can't stand that because, number one, I know my environment. I know my surroundings. I pretty much have a woodland garden, okay? Now, this area of my garden may be on the outer edge of the woodlands, okay? But it's always good to familiarize yourself or identify what type of garden you have. So the way I'm planting these, it really leads to the woodland aesthetic. This right here needs to be divided. This one right here needs to be divided. So now I'm getting towards the front of this border. So I need to keep in mind that I'm going to be adding a lot of the smaller bulbs. So I'm just gonna run through all of these, stand them upright, and then cover it up. Press them down so that we have sufficient contact with the soil below, right? Okay. Bulbs inherently know to direct their growth upwards. So even if you laid them the incorrect way, they eventually will find their way to the light. All right. But the reason we're standing them up is because we want to help them out, right? We want to make sure they have as little challenge as possible reaching the light. This is a wild onion that I was telling you guys about in the first part of the video. See how the leaves resemble an onion and you have a bulb, okay? But these are highly invasive. These are highly invasive plants. It smells just like an onion too. So this is not going in a compost bin. This is going in the trash. All right, pat it down, because I'm sure I'll have a lot of vermin like squirrels and chipmunks that'll come through and disturb the soil. They just do that around this time of year. All right, it's starting to get very windy. So I think this is about it. I'm gonna go ahead and button this job up, throw the mulch back on top, water it in thoroughly, and that's it. So those who hung out with me throughout this entire video, I appreciate it. And I'll see you on the next one. This has been AJ's Green Thumb.